Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know everybody's a bit tired right now, but I request your attention for this. I request your attention for these next 10 minutes. And inshallah, we will benefit from the reminder. So, the Prophet ﷺ bettered everybody around him just by existing, just by the virtue of his existence, the fact that he got revelation from Allah, his prime akhlaq. And another way he bettered the people around him was through the advice he gave. The sincere Naseeha the Prophet gave to those around him. There was a young man that came to the Prophet once, and he said, give me a comprehensive piece of advice. Maybe this young man was seeking something that was lengthy. Maybe he was seeking a paragraph or sitting down or something lengthy. He said comprehensive. But what he received was just 2 words. The Prophet told this man, La taghda. He said, don't be angry. And the man, he continued to ask. He asked many times. And he received the same answer every time. And maybe this was not what this man wanted at that time. But maybe it's what he needed. Through the hikmah of the Prophet and his advice is to give people what they need and not what they want to hear. Continuing. There was an outrageous request by a young man, by our standards. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasul, give me permission to commit zina. And some of us heard that, so start rolling up our sleeve, like, what's this guy saying, man? Right? And that's what some of the people around him did. They tried to quiet this man down. They were like, quiet. They were trying to hush this man. But the Prophet told him to come close. He said, come. He sat him down. And he said, would you like the same for your mother? Of course the man said no. And it continues, daughter, sister, aunt. And at the end, the man understands the point, what the Prophet is trying to say. And in the end, the Prophet places his hand on this man and he makes a dua for him. What a 180 from what some of us might do, yeah? If somebody came to us and asked a question like this, I don't think a lot of us would react in this way and calmly explain to him. Maybe some of us would jump to some conclusions. Continuing. You might be thinking, why am I telling you this? What's the benefit of this for me and you? This was 1400 years ago and we are now, right? What's the relationship of this and now? But to that, I'll tell you, the Muslim and every single one of you in this crowd has 6 rights over every single one of you in this crowd. One of them being, if your brother comes to you for sincere advice, you give it to him. If your brother comes to you for advice, you give it to him. And in the Quran it says, continue to remind, for indeed the reminder benefits the believers. They don't listen once, they don't listen twice, keep reminding. It's okay. In Surah Al-Asr, the last ayah, it says, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. These are the 4 characteristics of the people who are not in loss. The ayah before says, all mankind is in loss, except the people who do these 4 things. And 2 of these are to advise each other with the truth, to the truth, and with perseverance. Keep on doing it, perseverance. And now that we know how the Prophet gave advice, you might be asking, what's the difference between us and them? What are the parallels between me and you and the Prophet and the Sahaba of those times? I'll tell you this. Before we give advice, we have to check our intentions. Right? The Prophet ﷺ, he gave advice because his heart truly burned for the person he was trying to give it to. When Abu Talib was on his deathbed and the Prophet was begging him to say the Shahada, do you think he had other motives? Right? Do you think maybe he wanted something? Maybe he wanted to let him know, I have more knowledge than you. I'm a better person than you. That's why I'm giving you advice and it's not the other way around. Was that his intention? I don't think so. It's not up to me or you to guide. It's Allah. But it's up to me and you to give the message, right? We have to check our intention before we give advice. Advise yourself before you advise them. We place such a great emphasis on da'wah nowadays, which is one of the greatest things we could do, right? Learn about it and inshallah implement it. But I want every one of you to recall a time in your life, and I know each of us have one, I do, all the uncles probably do, of when you actually turn someone away from this deen. We're always talking about bringing people closer and bringing more people into the deen and this guy and that guy and bringing, he became a rebel. But what about the people that are Muslim? And because of what we said to them, maybe they're not anymore. Maybe they're off the path. How harshly we might have treated them, or how harshly we might have advised them, that it gave them a negative impression of Islam. Wallahi, I know of a person who used to be Muslim, but today he's not. He left the fold of Islam, and part of it can be attributed to how his parents might have raised him, to the advice that they gave this kid, how harsh they were with him. Had he known the true gentleness of the way to advise, maybe he wouldn't be the way he is now. We advise to save people from the hellfire. The Prophet's heart truly burned for the people he was trying to advise. Because sometimes we're so sakht, we're so rude to these people, we don't understand the struggle that they might be going through that's led them to commit their actions. That instead of trying to save them from the hellfire, we treat them like they deserve it, right? We talk to that guy like he's below us. Maybe condescending sometimes. And I want everybody to realize that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, you'll be asked, all of us will stand before Allah. I will stand, you will stand, your dad will stand, your family will stand. And Allah will question you for what you did. He'll ask you, were you the reason that this person left? Were you the reason that this person fell off the straight path? Were you the reason that this and this happened to him? Because of the way you advised him. I'm sure all of us have heard this example, but nowadays maybe someone will walk into the masjid inappropriately dressed or dressed this and that, and someone will give him some looks. And this has happened. The brother, they come to us after and they're like, so-and-so uncle is giving me this look. And I don't feel comfortable here anymore. And maybe that's the reason they won't come back to the masjid. And who does that fall on? Not the Prophet. That's not the way he advised. Right? He didn't glare at people and give them, When you advise somebody, you don't know if you're better than them. Wallahi, they could be better than you. Right? We advise them, sometimes we get to think, I'm better than this guy. You know your place and I know mine. And indeed, they could be better than us. The Prophet ﷺ, there were some characteristics to the way he gave advice. It was customized. He didn't give a blanket advice to everybody. It wasn't the same to everyone. It's customized. Like we saw earlier in those two hadith, it wasn't the same. Someone asked for comprehensive advice, they received it. 2 words. Another characteristic of the way the Prophet gave advice, again, he was sincere. He only wanted to help the person. He had no ulterior motives. Maybe today, again, like I said, the shaitan might creep into our attention and tell us, maybe you're better than this person. That's why you're telling them and they're not telling you. Advice is a two-way street. It doesn't just go one way. And another one of the akhlaq, the adab of giving advice, that the Prophet, he always praised the person before he criticized them. Maybe he went up to the guy, he's like, MashaAllah, your beard looks nice today. It's lined up. It's nice today. And then he goes on to tell him what he wanted to tell him. And he criticizes him. Maybe they'll receive the message better that way. Some of the Salaf, they said that when Musa, he went to go to Fir'aun, he was told to be gentle. He was told, be gentle so that maybe he will understand. Maybe the message will go just beyond his ears. And so I want you guys to remember, the person, you are not better than Musa, and the person you give advice to, it's not worse than Fir'aun, right? I'm sure we all know this, but it's good to be reminded. And I'll end with this. Today, back then, there was people that only became Muslim because of the Prophet ﷺ's akhlaq, just because his character. I'm sure we all know the story of the old woman who abused him, and again until the time the Prophet told her his name, and then she accepted Islam on the spot. Right? Today, there are some people who will hate Islam just because of our akhlaq, just because of the way we might have treated them or advised them. All the Prophet's way of giving advice, be gentle, Realize that not so long ago you were there and Allah saved you, and had He not saved you, you would still be there. Right? You were not better than them. So inshallah, from today we will implement the adab of giving advice. We need to realize we are not better than them. We advise them because we want them to be better, not because we want to put them down to a place that they will never come back from. سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.